Okay, let's unpack this. We're diving deep into some really fascinating source material today.
Mm-hmm. A story that comes from the ancient commentaries on the Dhammapada.
Yeah, set right there at the Jetavana Monastery, during the Buddhist time.
Exactly.
And this deep dive, it's into a narrative called the Isapakataiti Vathu.
Which basically means the story of the woman afflicted by envy.
Right, and it sounds maybe like, I don't know, a simple domestic dispute on the surface.
Well, yeah, but our sources show it's actually got these really sharp insights into human nature.
Especially about the things we do when we think no one's looking.
Uh-huh. And the consequences, the real lasting consequences of those actions.
We've got the details pretty well laid out across different sources, even some in the original language.
Which is great. It gives a clear picture of what happened and, really importantly, a specific teaching from the Buddha himself.
Who they call the 10-powered one, or Dasabala in the text.
That's the one. So our mission today, really, is to pull out those core lessons. What's the wisdom here for us now?
Okay, so let's set the scene based on these texts. We're in a house. There's a husband, his wife, and a housemaid living there.
Right. Standard household setup for the time, maybe?
And the story kicks off because, well, the sources say the husband made intimacy, that's the phrase, Santava Akasi with the housemaid.
Okay, so that's the inciting incident right there.
Exactly. And the wife's reaction, well, the texts are very specific. They say she was isapakata.
Afflicted by envy. It wasn't just a passing feeling.
No, not at all. This envy, it drove her to do something pretty extreme.
And the texts don't shy away from the detail.
Not one bit. They say she tied the maid up, hands and feet,
Mm-hmm.
then cut off her ears and nose.
Wow. That's incredibly violent.
It really is. And then she locked the maid in an empty room, a tuchagab, the sources call it.
Just leaves her there, mutilated and locked away.
But she doesn't stop there. Then comes the cover-up attempt.
Right, she needs to conceal this somehow.
So she actually takes her husband to the monastery. The sources even quote her saying something like, let's go to the monastery to hear the Dharma.
Vyara gantva dhamma suchisama. So she uses a spiritual activity as an alibi, almost.
Seems like it. And they sit down, ready to listen to the Buddhist teaching, while this terrible secret is hidden back home.
So she commits this awful act, tries to hide it, and then presents herself as someone seeking wisdom. What happens next? Does it work?
Well, not for long. The secret doesn't stay buried. The texts mention agantuka and yataka.
Visiting relatives.
Exactly. They come to the house, they find this locked room, open the door.
And they find the maid.
Yeah. They see the mutilation, the sources call it vipakara, a strange deed or mutilation.
A definite understatement there.
Right. And they immediately release the maid, Dasya Mokaisu.
Okay, so she's freed. What does she do?
She goes straight to the monastery.
Where the wife and husband are.
Yep. And the sources say she reported the matter, tamatai orajizi, directly to the Buddha, the Dasabala.
And not privately either.
No, right there in front of everyone. The assembly of 4 groups, the Katupari Samaji.
Imagine that scene. The wife trying to maintain composure while the victim publicly reveals what she did.
It really shifts the focus, doesn't it? From this hidden act of violence to a public confrontation and ultimately a teaching moment.
Exactly. This is where the Buddha steps in. He hears the maid's account. And his response isn't just, condemning the wife. It's bigger than that.
He uses it to reveal something fundamental about actions and consequences.
Especially the hidden ones. He really gets to the heart of it.
So what does he say? What's the core message?
Well, he explains pretty directly that you shouldn't do a bad deed, even a small one, thinking, oh, nobody will know.
Because someone always knows, or...
Not necessarily externally. It's deeper. And he contrasts it too. He says, a good deed should be done even if absolutely no one else knows about it.
Okay, so why the distinction? Why does secrecy matter or not matter in this way?
Because, and this is the crucial part from the sources, a bad deed, even one done secretly, causes regret later. Pachanuttapekaroti.
Regret later, so it's an internal consequence.
Precisely. It creates this internal burning, this torment. The texts even specify when it happens. At the time of repeatedly recollecting it, when you remember it, it hurts.
Ah, okay, so it's not just about the act itself, but the memory of the act.
Yes, and conversely, a good deed. It only creates joy, pamajameva janeti.
So remembering good deeds feels good, basically.
Exactly. Even the small, unseen ones. Remembering them brings happiness. It's a completely different internal result.
And he sums this all up, doesn't he, in a verse?
He does, agatha. It really encapsulates the whole teaching. The sources give it as akato dukkha seyo, pachatapati dukkha katoniku sukkate seyo, yaketabananatapateti.
Okay, let's break that down a bit. Akata dukkate seyo.
Right. Dukkha is the bad deed, the wrong action, something faulty that leads, spiritually speaking, downwards. Apayas of the Tanika. Akata seyo means it's better left undone. Don't do it in the first place.
Got it. Bad deed better not done. Then pachatapati dukkaya.
Because pacha later, tapati, it burns, it torments you. That bad deed causes suffering later, especially, as we said, when you remember it. Anusaritanasaratakare.
Makes sense. The memory burns. What about the second half? Katanyaka sukata seyo.
Susukata is the opposite, a good deed. Something faultless, anavaja, bringing pleasant results, sukatroya, leading to good places, sukatisvatanika. And kataseyo means this kind of deed is better done.
Okay, so good deeds are better done. And the final line, yakata manutapateti.
Yakata doing which the anutapati one does not regret later. There's no burning, natapati nanatapati.
Ah, so doing good deeds doesn't lead to that later torment.
Quite the opposite. The commentary says remembering it makes you somanasajado eva hodi, born of happiness. You feel joy recollecting it. So doing that kind of deed is excellent, katavara.
Wow. So the whole verse really contrasts the long-term internal impact. Bad deeds, hidden or not, eventually cause pain on recall. Good deeds, seen or not, bring joy on recall.
That's the core insight. It powerfully shifts the focus from external judgment to internal experience. The real consequence plays out inside your own mind.
And then, after this teaching, the resolution of the story is, well, it's quite something.
It really is. The sources state that at the end of the discourse, desanavasan, get this.
What happens?
The husband identified as an upasaka, a lay follower, and the wife.
The wife who did the terrible act.
Yes, that wife. They were established in the fruit of stream entry. Satapatifale patihasu.
Stream entry, that's huge, spiritual speaking.
It's the first stage of enlightenment in Buddhism. It means they fundamentally grasped the teaching, saw reality in a new way, and entered the irreversible path to liberation.
Even after what she did. And the husband's complicity, perhaps.
Apparently so. It speaks volumes about the potential transformative power of hearing the Dharma, of truly understanding this teaching about actions and their internal consequences, perhaps leading to profound repentance and insight right then and there.
That's remarkable. And what about the maid, the victim in all this?
The sources don't forget her. They say she was made free, Ujisa Kapha, right there on the spot.
Freed from servitude.
Yes, and also made a follower of the Dharma, Dhammakaranchi Kartasuti.
So her suffering and her courage in speaking out actually led to her own freedom, both physically and spiritually.
It seems so. It's a complex ending, isn't it? Justice, transformation, and liberation, all interwoven after this intense drama and powerful teaching.
Okay, so let's step back. We've unpacked the story, the teaching, the outcome from these ancient sources. How does this resonate today? What's the takeaway for us?
I think that core idea is just so relevant. This notion that hidden actions, things you think no one sees, still have a weight. That pachanidapai, that later regret, that internal burning when you remember.
Yeah, we live in a world with so many opportunities for things to be done in secret, online or offline. It's easy to think if no one finds out, it doesn't matter.
Right. But this teaching fundamentally challenges that.
Yeah.
It says the primary consequence isn't getting caught by others, it's the internal record. It's how you feel when you recollect that action. That's the real accountability, in a way.
The secret itself becomes the source of suffering upon reflection.
Exactly, that burning the texts describe. And conversely, the idea that doing good, even small things, just because it's the right thing to do, without needing an audience.
That creates pamoja, that joy upon recollection.
It's a powerful psychological insight, really. Your own actions directly shape your internal landscape, your capacity for peace or torment when reflecting on your life. This story, dramatic as it is, just gives such a vivid picture of that principle drawn from the sources.
So this deep dive into the Isa Kakataitivatu from our sources, it's given us this ancient story with a really direct message about consequences, especially the hidden ones.
Yeah, the texts are clear. Secret bad deeds breed internal regret when remembered. Good deeds, seen or unseen, breed internal joy when remembered.
It really makes you think. If even deeds done specifically to hide something from others end up causing this internal torment upon recollection, well, who is the real audience for ethical choices at the end of the day?